Welcome back to Morning Brew with the Homeowners. I'm your host, Dmitry Intro, a former contractor with 20 years in the trades. And today I do what I love doing the most. I just drink coffee, answer your questions. We have conversations. Thank you, our listeners, for sending me questions, texting me. If you have a problem with your contractor or maybe with a product and you need a resolution, you don't know what to do, what's the next step should be, send me those questions or call me and I will give you my best advice. Today, we have questions about HOAs, nightmares. We have questions about flooring, about decks, about siding, a little bit of everything. So I piled up about 10 questions I'm going to go over, and we're going to start with the HOA situation in Florida. I'm going to read it to you. A homeowner is sharing this story saying, long story short, I signed a contract. I have the siding done on my home. The contractor in writing agreed to get all the permits and HOA's approvals, and they didn't. They actually started and finished the project without HOA approval. I believed that they have approval since the work was just about done. But when I asked about the proof, they couldn't provide it. They submitted the application a few days after I asked for it, and we both learned it was in fact denied. Now I have the HOA demanding I remove the siding on the entire home and return to its original form. They're also fining me constantly, and I have a contractor suing me for not paying them, which I refuse to do because they did not deliver what they promised. I tried communicating with HOA. They really don't care to work with me. I've asked for alternative solutions. They seem to so unwilling to work with me, and they also suing me now for violating their rules. The contractor could care less. They just want to get paid, and their reply to me in regards to the denial of the project is that it's unfortunate. I am in disbelief that this is how the process was executed. On the one hand, the contractor wants $40,000 to work with the HOA, but HOA wants me to remove it, which is likely cost me about $10,000. How can be this allowed in Florida? So Florida is tough, and Florida HOAs can be very, very tough. Obviously, in this situation, I think both homeowner and a contractor kind of in the wrong. I don't want to play blaming game here because, I can understand HOA. I actually want to know what kind of product it is, why they cannot accept it. Is it a color? Is it just a product? HOAs, again, tough, but when you buy a house with a homeowner association, you have to follow the rules. And if your contractor required to pull a permit or get approval from HOA, I feel like the homeowner in this case should do due diligence and should have asked before. But contractor also isn't wrong, 100%. I mean, as a contractor, you have to get every approval, you put in writing. I wonder if they do have it, in fact, in the contract. If you're the homeowner and you have HOA, make sure you put it in writing, just for the case like it. Because if the contractor goes in court, takes them to court, and if they don't have it in writing, contractor might say, hey, I did not know that it's HOA. Or if it's verbal agreement, you have to prove that it's been talked about. But because they actually ask for it, it tells me that they knew about it, and contractor is more in the wrong here than homeowner, obviously. But again, one of those things that you as a homeowner have to do the homework. It's your job to make a contractor accountable, just like you pick a colors, just like you ask them to file, permits with the city. With the HOAs, it's not on you. You're not responsible here. But I would not let anyone work on my property. If I would know that HOAs is tough, I would make sure the paperwork is in place. Because think about it. A lot of people actually, and I've heard it several times, what they do is they have this mentality, if you will, ask for forgiveness instead of permission. So, hey, I did not know. I just hired a contractor. He did this work, now accept it on the back end. HOA is not going to budge. Rules are there to follow. HOA can be very tough, but if you install in red or green siding on your house and other neighbors don't want to see the eyesore, you have to obey by the rules. Rules are there for a reason. You bought a house in the HOA, and you have to follow. You have to follow those rules. And if you hire someone to work in your property, also make sure that they also follow rules, especially if you're spending $40,000. I wonder, though, if something can be done. I wonder if it's a color, if it's a product. I mean, $40,000 is for a siding job. It's not a small amount, so something is telling me that there's a little bit more to the story. What kind of siding it is? Can we paint it? Is it materials? Is it color? I mean, what's going on here? Need a little bit more details, but lesson for all the homeowners out there, do your due diligence. If you know what needs to be done, make sure that you can demand from your contractor to show those approvals, because if your contractor in fact apply before, you would not have this issue. Work wouldn't be done. I don't think judge will rule in favor of your contractor, so I wouldn't pay contractor. It's his loss. He took a gamble, and a lot of contractors do it. A lot of contractor try to act on the project, start the jobs before they get permissions, before they get approvals. It could be city approval. It could be, we're here in Minneapolis, have done plenty of jobs in historic districts. If you need a approval from historic district, that's a specialty, permit. If you start the work without it, you're taking a gamble that you're not going to get paid, you're not going to get approved. You might do the job twice. It could be the color, it could be the product, it could be material. We have one more story here about HOAs. This one is a little bit different. HOAs is using unlicensed, uninsured handyman for major repairs. Homeowners writes, to be honest, I haven't paid much attention to what my HOA has been doing. However, in a recent spike in monthly dues and talks of a loan for exterior renovations, I've been reading some of the expense reports. They're using a gentleman for most of the major repairs and will be using him for the potential loan repairs, which include roofing, siding, painting, and flashing for all the townhomes. It turns out this is not a licensed contractor. I'm unsure of his insurance status, but have an inquiry to the HOA board. My worry is, while he may be cheaper than a licensed company, his work is likely non-coverable by our insurance. And if something happened during the major repairs, we cannot come after his insurance if he even has it. And if one of his guys gets hurt, they can easily sue our HOA, which our insurance may not cover because he is unlicensed. Am I seeing this wrong? It's kind of freaking me out at the potential stupidity of the HOA. I think you have legit concern here. HOA usually in place to be professional. They usually do what's right. Like if that would be your house, you could do something like that. Homeowners would hire someone unlicensed to save a few bucks here and there. But the reason we have HOAs, those homeowner associations, is to do everything by the book. So in most states, like you actually not supposed to do any work on it. For example, roofing. If roofing requires a license, hire a licensed contractor. So I've never heard HOA doing this kind of stuff. I wonder if this person might actually have LLC, and he might be one-man show, but he still can be legit business with insurance. So we don't know that. So I wouldn't worry about insurance unless it's a fact that he doesn't have it, because one-man handyman can be as insured and as licensed as big company. So that's out of question here. We don't know what we don't know. I hope that your HOA did do due diligence and they're not just hiring someone super cheap. And they're taking loans for repairs. Interesting how much this one-man company charging. Very interesting. I wouldn't have concerns unless it's a fact. If it's a fact, I would bring it up with the HOA and make them accountable. When we come back after the break, we will talk about concrete and flooring. Stay tuned. This show is sponsored by Contractor Directory. If you ever hired the wrong contractor, you know it can turn into a nightmare. Directory helps you avoid all of that. Every pro is background checked for criminal and financial red flags. And with a $20,000 guarantee on every job, you are protected if anything goes wrong. It's totally free. Just head to directory.com or download the app from the App Store. Directory, the safest way to hire a contractor. And we are back. Next question is about flooring. I actually have been flooring contractor. It was my first official business. I've done floors for a couple of years, so I know my floors very well, and hopefully I can help this person. The question is, full house granite flooring versus tiles, worth it? So the flooring market is crazy. There's so many options, but granite is legit. So the question is, granite seems super durable, low maintenance, and looks great. Thinking leather finish for a matte, not sleep look, but most homes go with the tiles now. Cheaper, more variety, and it feels warmer in bedrooms. Anyone gone with the full granite floors recently? Worth it long term, or better to mix granite for common areas, tiles for bedrooms? But since it's a tropical area, cool floors are actually a bonus, not a drawback. Would love to hear your experiences or suggestions. Absolutely love it. I actually recently went to Rome, Italy, and I have seen so many granite tiles, granite floors that have been around for thousands of years. Think about those columns. Actually, in Vatican, in St. Paul Cathedral, on the floor, I have seen something very, very unique I want to share. So they have several stones that are very, very durable, and they kind of embedded them in softer stones like travertine around and granite, like it could be leather or little details inside. And you can see with the foot traffic over the years, obviously, tourists there, daily, walk and walk and walk, and you can see the granite kind of raise to the top where softer tile, just keep getting polished. So granite is one of the best options when it comes to the floors. And I think you answer a question yourself. Since it's a tropical area, cool floors, huge bonus. If we're talking about Jamaica or Dominican Republic or even Mexico, it's very, very popular. Here in the United States, it's a little bit colder. We like our carpets, we like our laminates, but over there, even in bedrooms, everybody's using tiles. So I would say this, for foundation for the first floor, which is probably the most use of granite, you're gonna go with the granite. If you have 2 or 3 level homes, for upstairs, you want to consider the weight. You don't want to add too much. You can go with a cheaper tile, but it's also the cost. So I would say for durability, the granite is indestructible, scratch, stain resistant, especially with a leathered or hone finished. It's obviously low maintenance, it's premium look, anti-slip, all of that. Cool service. You don't have a lot of color options. Some of it might look outdated because we've seen it everywhere. Every bank has granite tiles, government buildings. So it's kind of that older look. So that's the only con I can think of. But tile also have a lot of cool options, especially if you go with the porcelain tiles. Porcelain is very, very durable, and it also will last forever. It's cheaper, so maybe go with a porcelain upstairs, but for the basement, for main level, granite is one of the superior choices that you can buy these days. Next question is about siding. Love siding. Actually was the first trade for me. Researching products for our home built in Tennessee. We're torn between Hardie panel and diamond Kote. How do you say it? Diamond Kote? Hardie was my first choice, but have heard about talk about diamond is one of the better options for durability and maintenance. Honestly, I used to be big James Hardie guy. For years, if you watch my YouTube videos, when I had my roofing company, we've done a lot of James Hardie products, but LP Smart Side, especially with Diamond Kote, grew on me over the years. I think it comes down to the company that installs it. So start there. If you have two different installers and they absolutely love what they do, they follow instructions, they are certified with the factories, they know what they're doing, you're going to be very close. I'm 50-50 today between LP Smart Side and James Hardie. Now, there's few things that you want to consider, especially if you're in Tennessee. It's kind of hotter area. I don't know exactly where you are, but if you have a fire rating concern, you definitely want to go with the James Hardie. James Hardie will not catch on fire even if your torch flame it. It's just a fact. So LP Smart Side will burn, and we've recently seen Nightmare from California. And if you want to fireproof your house, you want to go with a concrete. You want to go with a fiber cement siding, which is James Hardie. So if that's not a concern though, you can definitely go with the LP Smart Side. So pros of Hardie panels, usually a little bit cheaper. Used to be more money, but usually cheaper. It's proven durability. But the cons here, you have to repaint it every 8 to 10 years. So it's not maintenance free. You have to caulk it, you have to paint it, you'll have to reapply. I mean, they do have finishes, I believe, that'll last like 15 years. But overall, I like James Hardie, but it's not maintenance free between the two. So it requires maintenance, paint warranty is shorter, and it's more prone to cracking if not installed correctly. That's another thing. If your installer just randomly installs it, you have to be careful. If you go with the James Hardie, you want to hire someone who does it for a living, who does it every single day, because it takes some experience to get used to cutting and installing James Hardie boards. Now, let's talk about pre-finished LP Smart Side. It's extremely low maintenance, pre-finished with a proprietary 30-year no fade paint warranty. That's huge. And I mean, we're in Minnesota. I've seen houses in Minneapolis. I've seen houses in Texas. I've seen in Wisconsin that do last 20, 30 years. You truly don't have to do anything else to it. It does have engineered wood core, so it's more flexible and impact resistant than fiber cement. It's also a little bit longer. You have 16-foot boards versus 12, so less seams. It is moisture resistant, both of them are, and you have pretty good color consistency. Now, cons obviously higher upfront cost, not fireproofed, which can be a deal breaker for some people, and fewer custom color options here. So I would say for Tennessee, for hot summers, humid air, thunderstorms, some snow, both products are built to withstand these conditions. So you're going to be good with either one of them. Again, it all comes down to that installation, who's installing it, who's doing it. And fiber cement is a bit better against fire, but engineered wood has the edge and flexibility and impact resistant for like hail, kids, yard tools, stuff like that. So again, LP Smart Side grew on me. I like both products now, and I would go with whatever I can get my hands on, and also if I have a good installer. Let's do one more question before the break. New construction in California. The contractor is not physically doing any work. The people working are not employees. Does the following work need licensed subcontractors? A foundation, framing, plumbing, and roof. Yes, in California is actually pretty strict with their contractors. So you have a lot of regulations. Even if you're a contractor and you hiring subs, those subs better know what they're doing, and they do need to be licensed. So here's a few rules. General contractor role is a licensed general contractor class B can oversee construction project but must use licensed subcontractors for trades they are not performing themselves unless they're performing two or more unrelated trades like framing and plumbing, or they have proper specialty license for the work being done. So subcontractor licensing required when the workers are not employees, the work is classified under specialty trade, such as C8 concrete, your foundation, C5 framing and rough carpentry, C36 plumbing, and C39 is your roofing license. So no employees, no exception. If the general contractor is simply supervising and the laborers are independent workers, not employees, each trade must be performed by a licensed subcontractor. I actually love California. California is very strict. It's one of the hardest states to become a tradesman, to get a license. They have very strict rules for down payments. We talked about it in the last show. They have very good rules for licensing, which keeps entry gate pretty high. It's not easy to become a contractor, so you have more professionals doing actual the trades. Obviously, you can hire handymans and people without licenses at your risk, but I think those are good to have. So it's also illegal to hire unlicensed subcontractors in California. It is illegal for the general contractor to hire unlicensed individuals unless there are employees of the general contractor and the general contractor is licensed for that trade. So to summarize it, new construction requires permits and licensed contractors. General contractor not performing the work, fine, but must use licensed subcontractors. Workers are not employees, they must be licensed subs. And foundation, framing, plumbing, roofing, all are regulated trades requiring proper specialty contractor licenses. I don't know if I wanted the whole country to be California. There's definitely a little bit of over-regulation going here. But overall, I think those rules are solid rules. They protect the homeowners, and homeowners should be protected because, especially for the new construction. I mean, we do have little crisis with the quality of new built homes in the United States, and I think those rules help to keep the quality up. When we come back after the break, we will talk about skylights, and I have a homeowner who sent me a lot of pictures. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, you'll see those pictures. We'll be back. This show is also brought to you by the Good Contractors list in Dallas, Texas. Need a contractor in Dallas? Don't take chances. Use the Good Contractors list. They meet every contractor in person and check their background, so you don't have to worry about anything. And if something goes wrong, you are covered with a $10,000 guarantee. It's free to use. Go to thegoodcontractorlist.com to get started. And we are back. Next one is a very, very spicy and interesting conversation with a homeowner about skylights. I'll read it to you. Skylight repair or replacement accused of shoddy roof work. I have two skylights. One is 3 years old and was replaced at the same time as my roof. The other one is older and now leaking. I had the company that redid our roof come out and they told me the sealant on the old skylight is bad and the entire skylight needs to be replaced. He sent me a contract for a little over $2,000. However, I always get a second or third quote to get an idea of what a good price is. I usually go with a company I know, not always with the cheapest. That's very smart of you. That's what everybody should do. The second guy who came out today said the roofers did a terrible job. He was up and down criticizing how poor a job they did. He apologized as he felt so awful telling me it. He said the cap was done poorly and where the skylight and flashing were done is incorrect in terms of how the shingles and flashing are arranged. He also said that the new skylight the roofers installed was done incorrectly. He quoted me the price a bit under $2,000. Now, I actually like the company that did my roof. They've done some simple repairs for free. offered a lot of advice of non-roofing projects without any expectations. They repaired the roof after a tree fell on it with insurance and helped discover a chimney leak, repaired and painting a ceiling leak for no cost. I will attach images of the roof and skylight. So my questions are, does the skylight need to be replaced? If the sealant is bad, why can the sealant be replaced? Is this a possible DIY project? I'm not afraid to do simple roof work, but I know I'm no professional and I don't assume I know better than one. Also, is the roofing job scuffed? So, I've been reviewing these pictures, and first comment that I have for you, sir, is if you're getting prices about $2,000 for Skylight, that's a great price. I don't know many places in the United States today you can get Skylight replaced for $2,000. If you live in Boston, Washington, Seattle, Minnesota, you're probably gonna pay way more. More competitive markets like Atlanta or Texas, you probably can find something $2,000 and under, but good skylight alone will cost $1,000, and especially if it's not part of a re-roofing project, you can expect to pay more. So first note here that $2,000 for just a skylight by itself, it's a great price because it requires a lot of work. They have to open it up, they have to remove the shingles around it, they have to install it, they have to put it back. So $2,000 is a great price. Now, your question is, does the skylight need to be replaced? If the sealant is bad, why can the sealant be replaced? To answer that question, I would say that it's not as easy as it sounds. Like, skylights are roofers' nightmares. This is how you separate boys from men. Almost anyone can shingle on a big flat surface. Roofs usually leak a lot around penetrations like chimneys, skylights, vents, and stuff like that. So what we have here, you have actually several skylights. You have the one that have been replaced. I wonder why this wasn't replaced, because in my opinion, like, if I would be your contractor, I would recommend to replace your skylight when you do the roof, even if it's out of pocket expense, because those sealants, while they can be technically resealed, it's still not something that recommended. Skylight is a unit, and it's not as much about the sealant as it is about the flashings around your skylight. So it's probably not flashed properly, or what I see on your pictures here, you have a lot of cracks. So treat your skylight as a one solid unit. I do see that you have leaks, and older skylight with especially if you're up north, you have a lot of cold days, hot days, expansion, construction. It'll break the seams, it'll break the skylight over the years, essentially. And you can reseal it and get few more years out of it, but I guarantee you sooner or later the problem will be back at it. So I do see the sealant is pretty bad. I'll share another story with our listeners now. A couple of years ago, we actually, my company, Directory.com, we paid out for $12,000 for one of our claims. And on that job, one of the contractors that we recommended, good guys, just like you said here in your question, in your story, great guys, not necessarily good business owners or not necessarily good roofers, but good guys with the good hearts. So they did the job. They actually sold homeowner few skylights, installed those skylights. The problem was they were not the right skylights for the property. They were commercial grade skylights for low. It was a low slope roofing, like 312, so it's pretty flat area. So they needed to go with a taller skylights for snow in that area. I believe it was Pennsylvania. And instead, they did low profile skylights. They also picked the wrong roofing material, believe it or not. They went with the shingles where they should have went with a rolled roofing because it was too flat. I believe it was 212 or 312. technically speaking, you can do it, but you have to install a lot of ice and water underneath. And as a result, roof starts leaking around those areas. We called another contractor to fix it. When contractor came out, of course, nobody wants to fix after another contractor. And that's also what's happening here. Every time you call another contractor, they're going to find something about a job they don't like, especially if they're perfectionist. They're going to come, they're going to start blaming previous contractor, and nobody wants to do repairs because, you know, if I'm fixing someone else's work, I will always charge premium. You know, it's easier to do it right the first time. When we start doing repairs after other contractors, now we just start adding to the pile of mess that homeowner are already dealing with. So in that case, they have insurance claim, and entire job was $12,000. But to repair the skylights and the section when they did wrong, the bids that they got was also $12,000, and we paid it. I paid out $12,000 to make it right, and the contractor was arguing with us, saying, "Well, it's not fair. The whole job is $12,000. Why this repair is $12,000?" And I told them, "Listen, you could do it the first time, but if you hire someone else to fix your job, now you don't have that argument. You can't just say, well, you know, it should be cheaper. You should do the right thing in the first time." And the reason they could not do it, because one, expertise. Unfortunately, roofing becomes very low entry level trade, where it's not hard to become a roofer. It's not hard to get a license. It's not hard to sell your first job. It's not hard to get a signature that you'll work for insurance claim, right? So the sales process is easy. You're not required to have license in many places, and some you do, but it still does not make you a roofer per se. So skylights and penetrations like chimneys are the areas where you see the experience, right? Like your roofer not gonna make mistakes laying down shingles for the most part. I mean, they still can mess it up. They still can not adjust nail gun pressures and, you know, have a blow throughs, or they can high nail. You know, they still can make mistakes, don't get me wrong, but your shingles is not a waterproofing material, it's water shedding material. So if your shingles are installed, the water will still shed away, and you probably, with a good underlayment, not going to see any leaks. Now, when it comes to skylights, that's where professionalism comes in. People need to understand how the water flows. And as a matter of fact, you're actually asking, is it a possible DIY project? I would say I would highly not recommend you do it yourself. Why? Because if you're not dealing with the roof leaks on a regular basis, or whether it's windows, siding, skylights, you don't understand the water, you don't understand the mechanics behind it. A lot of people make amateur mistakes. They start just siliconing everything. They start trapping water on a roof. And it goes against common sense. So we think if I seal it, if I pour it, just like in plumbing or in our houses, right? So how do you stop water? You build a barrier, or you just paint it, or you fill the crack. Well, in roofing, you don't do that. In roofing, you need to understand how the flashing works. The water goes down. The water needs to channel through. That's why I went to Vinyl Siding Institute years ago, and I remember our teacher was saying that most siding guys fail the test. Because if you think about vinyl siding, if you have to silicone or caulk vinyl siding, you're doing something wrong. I mean, there are some areas where we do silicone, usually around windows, around J channels, usually when J channel connects to aluminum wrap around the windows, but not in the corners, not on seams, not on outside corners or inside corners. So there are a lot of areas that have gaps intentionally, and you need to understand it. If you're good at siding, if you're good at windows, you need to understand that water needs to go in and needs to go out. Like, that's why we have a lot of problems up north with the stucco. For many, many years, actually a lot of builders went out of business because on one end they sealed houses and it looks good, but the water have nowhere to go. It was trapping behind, creating mold issues, and years later you have to remove entire thing. So you need to understand the mechanics of modern construction, and you actually need to go to the school and take classes and practice it. So that's why Skylights is not your typical DIY project, and a lot of roofers don't know how to deal with the skylights. That's why your roofer is blaming previous roofers, and that's why I have paid out claims to hiring someone else to replace skylights. And my advice for roofers listening, if you are in the roofing trade, please get some education, some training if you want to touch skylights, because most of the time your roofs will leak around them if you don't know what you're doing. When we come back, I have a few more spicy stories for you. Stay tuned. This show is sponsored by Contractor Directory. If you ever hired the wrong contractor, you know it can turn into a nightmare. Directory helps you avoid all of that. Every pro is background checked for criminal and financial red flags. And with a $20,000 guarantee on every job, you are protected if anything goes wrong. It's totally free. Just head to directory.com or download the app from the App Store. Directory, the safest way to hire a contractor. And we are back. I hope I'm helping someone today. I have a few more spicy questions from our homeowners. Finishing my coffee here. I love talking to you guys. If you have questions for me, you can text it. My cell is 612-558-4881. Again, 612-558-4881. I'm pretty much talking to the homeowners for a living now. I absolutely love what I do. I'm passionate about helping homeowners, saving you some headaches in your home improvement projects. Let's finish today's show with a few more questions. I love this one. This one comes from the homeowner who have a new build home and have question about concrete pour. I'm having a new home built and it comes with a 10 by 10 patio. We want to extend it by 550 square feet. Many companies have offered quotes and are ready to pour today. One company advised us that we should wait 1-2 years before adding concrete because the home is new and needs to settle first. They said anyone offering to do it immediately just wants to make money at the cost of pouring too soon, since the soil hasn't settled, which will cause it to crack. Any suggestions or advice? I would say yes and no. It really depends on a few factors. It is true that on the new construction you do want to settle, but again, if your builder did what he's supposed to do, you should not have an issue. So should you wait to pour the extra concrete? Yes, you might want to wait if the soil was recently backfilled or disturbed, especially near the home foundation. So if you do see that, the soil has been moved a lot during the grading, what's not, and the area where the patio extension will go is made up of loose or uncompacted fill, you want to wait. Or maybe there has been no time for grading and soil compaction to stabilize after construction. So if entire neighborhood is brand new and you kind of visually see that it's still uncompacted, then maybe it's your region that's prone to expensive clay soils. It's common in parts of California, which can shift with moisture changes as well. So in these cases, the concern is legit and you do want to settle it because it will cause cracking. But you don't necessarily have to wait if the area has been properly compacted and graded, ideally with a compaction test or proper equipment. You can actually ask your builder if he would recommend it. Builder would know because it's also not his risk, but his name is there, and he's not going to give you bad advice. If he thinks it's not a good idea, just wait a year or two. A good contractor knows how to prep the subgrade and mitigate future cracking. So those contractors who are telling you they're ready to go, maybe share the concerns with them. Ask them how they can assure you that it's not going to crack. And if you're in an area with a stable soil condition, you should be fine. So I would ask the contractor how he's preparing the base. Will they use gravel or base rock? Will they compact it with a plate compactor? Will they use rebar or wire mesh? Will they include expansion joints? Those things. So, but overall, it comes down to the warranty, the guarantee of the new contractor, and them reassuring you that they're not going to mess it up. I have one more very, very interesting story here. The homeowner just don't know what to do, and I want to help them. So the question is, can contractor get away with only finishing half the job? I have some roof damage that insurance is covering, and I decided to replace my windows at the same time. It's a big job, so I got quotes from multiple contractors. I have a set of 4 large custom 10-foot angle-topped windows that I knew would be a challenge. One company quoted me $20,000 more than the one I chose. Another flat out said the windows were too complicated for them and warned me that the company I went with probably gave me a price that's too good to be true, that they will do the roof and the bail on the windows. Here's the thing. The company I hired has been around for over 30 years, has good reviews, and have a signed contract that clearly lists all the window work. I've also given a deposit. Is it even legally possible for them to just do the roof and drop the windows part of the job afterward? Or is it just fear-mongering from other contractors? My concern isn't that they will take the money and disappear. My fear is they'll complete the roof, but they claim they can't do the windows and simply not charge me for them. Maybe that's irrational, but one of the other contractors warned me this might happen. They said that the company will prioritize the roof because the profit margins are high, and the windows were priced so low because they never intended to actually do them. That said, both the roofs and all 30 windows are clearly listed in the contract, so I don't think they could just back out of the part of the job. So I think your contractors do bring valid point. It does take place in construction world. A lot of companies, especially storm chasers, they do that. Usually they'll tell you that they don't want to do something, they don't want to do siding or they don't want to do windows, but usually if they put it in writing, if you're dealing with a company that has been around for 30 years, I don't think it's going to be the case here. Now, what I have seen companies underbidding on the projects and coming back later asking for more money or coming up with excuse saying like, hey, we made a mistake, it should be more. I've seen that happen more time than not. Can they do it here? Potentially. What I would do if I were you, I would just put everything in writing, and I would honestly have good, honest conversation with the contractor. Speak up. Share your concerns. Say, hey, here's what I'm hearing. Your competition is telling me that you have no intention to do it. Maybe give them a call, give your sales rep a call or someone in the office and just have that conversation. Have them reassure you that it's not going to happen. Maybe even record that conversation if recording is legal in your state. Just triple check, double check. Say, hey, I have a concern. I know I have a big windows. I know that it's not an easy job. I just want to make sure after I pay you for the roof that you're not going to disappear, right? And good contractor you'll feel it. At that point, I think, you will see what's going on. They're probably going to say, hey, nothing to worry about it, because a lot of contractors, we do take jobs we don't like just to get the jobs we like. So a lot of roofing companies do siding not because they love siding. They do gutters not because they love gutters, but because it's cost of doing business. Because we understand if we want to do more roofs, we have to offer other services. Sometimes it's windows, sometimes it's siding, sometimes it's something we absolutely hate, but as a contractor, it's our lost leaders, if you will. We know the more gutters we do, the more roofs we're going to get. The more windows we do and offer, the more roofs we're going to get. So what do? You just do as many roofs as possible. And on a side note, maybe they have a good window guy. Something's telling me that if company has been around for 30 years and they have their good reputation, good reviews, and you like them, most likely they're going to be good guys. If you would tell me the company has been around for 6 months or 1 year, I would have great concern about hiring them, and I would maybe even put something in writing like progress payments. I'll pay you for the roof when you're done roof. I'll pay you for the windows when you're done windows, stuff like that. So that's how I answer this question. I hope it was helpful. I'll see you guys next Saturday. Thank you for joining me today. Bye-bye.